common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
I understand the state of Florida is opening up an investigation.
Exactly. Professor Alan Dershowitz, your thoughts about the role that Florida could play in this investigation versus the feds. It's really interesting.
Well, the state attorney is a former student of mine, and he's very good in Palm Beach County. So he will certainly take an active role. And I think the state will check and balance the federal involvement. It's very good that we have a federal system, particularly in light of the distrust that so many Americans have. And when you have the state looking over the shoulder of the feds, I think that's a very positive development. Look, I think it's remarkable that this Secret Service agent was able to see the barrel of a gun so far away and then shoot. For all he knew, by the way, the barrel of the gun could easily have been another Secret Service agent doing surveillance. That's how lucky we are that he was right in his guess, because that's all it could have been.
Professor, there's a lot we don't know.
We don't know. And by the way, as you said before, there's a lot we will never know. We will never know. That's the problem with secrecy. There should be never any government secrecy. I remember I had dinner with Bill Clinton when he first became president on Martha's Vineyard. And I had known him. So I said, Mr. President, the first thing you did, right, was to look to see who killed John Kennedy, right? And he laughed. And he said, yeah, they wouldn't even tell me.
That's interesting.
You know something? I had those conversations with Bill Clinton, too.
Yeah.
And they said, there's certain things they just won't tell me.
That's right. Yeah. Well, a friend of mine is now very, very high up in the CIA, and I hope he's looking at some of these things. But speaking about intelligence, this thing that Israel pulled off today is unbelievable.
Yeah, the booby-trapped.
Set off 2,000 booby traps at the same time, I think sends a message to Israel's enemies: don't mess with Israel. You don't know what they have up their sleeve. Next, it's Nasrallah. They could easily get to him if they could get to these guys. And next, it's the mullahs in Iran. And so, look, I'm speaking at an event in front of the UN next week to oppose Iran and what it's doing to the world today. The enemies of Israel are enemies of America. And the students who are protesting Israel are protesting America. Let's be very clear about that. And by the way, to her credit, Hillary Clinton in her new book did come out against these protesters, saying that they're ignorant, they don't know history, and that should be bipartisan. That should be a national attack and condemnation, just like there should be a condemnation on anybody who compared Trump to Hitler. My former colleague Lawrence Tribe compared Trump to Hitler, and then he said, if you're going to shoot him, you better shoot to kill. He said that about Donald Trump. Now, he said he didn't mean literally shoot. He meant figuratively shoot him legally. Use warfare, not lawfare. Lawfare, not warfare. But you get a deranged person who listens to Professor Tribe saying, if you're going to shoot Trump, you better shoot to kill. He's going to take that literally. And it's a disgrace that somebody with his credentials and his position at Harvard would use the word shoot to kill in the same sentence as Donald Trump, even if he meant it metaphorically.
You know, Professor Alan Dershowitz, you talked about universities. Did you see this? This Cornell professor who lauded the 10/7 attacks, called them exhilarating. He was on the radar. He gets, put aside, and now he's back apparently teaching history. What does that say to you that he's back teaching? He's
not teaching history. He's teaching propaganda. Teachers like that feel a moral obligation, or in that case, an immoral obligation, not to teach but to propagandize. The role of the teacher is to teach students how to think, not what to think. How somebody who made statements like that could be allowed in a classroom. He has free speech, but he has no right to be a professor, and especially at a private university. And would anybody be allowed to be a professor if he had praised the lynching of blacks by the Ku Klux Klan? Of course not. You have to apply a single standard. You can't have one standard for people who attack Jews and another standard for people who attack other minorities.
Absolutely.
It's just unacceptable.
And you know what it
Professor,
shows?
if you were listening, what did you think of Pierre what was it?
Corinne Jean-Pierre, the press secretary.
The press secretary.
She said it's okay to call Trump a threat to democracy.
I don't think so. I think you state what he said and let the public draw its own conclusions. Look, any elected official can be a threat to democracy. The attack on Trump in New York was a threat to democracy. His criminal prosecution for a non-crime is a threat to democracy. So if we want to start calling out threats to democracy, we have to do it across the board. There's no one person. And by the way, our system of checks and balances makes it clear that no president can effectively threaten democracy. The Supreme Court won't let him do it. Congress won't let him do it. We have a divided system of government which imposes very, very great and important checks on tyranny. That's why we've never had tyranny in this country, even though there have been people who have longed to be tyrants, particularly in the South during the Jim Crow period and other times. But we are not at risk of our democracy. And I think it's a big mistake for people to cry wolf about that. We survived McCarthyism. We survived demonstrations against the war in Vietnam, and we will survive no matter who is elected president. But people like us ought to be standing firm against any threats to democracy that we see at the earliest stage. That's part of our system of checks and balances.
Yeah,
Professor,
absolutely.
wouldn't it be a threat to democracy if, say, Congress tried to impeach a president based on a total lie?
Absolutely, that was a threat. I mean, the first impeachment, where I had the honor of defending the president, was for a non-constitutional criteria for impeachment. Yeah. The framers of the Constitution directly rejected maladministration as a grounds for impeachment. And that's what essentially they tried to impeach President Trump the first time for. So, let's not throw these terms around. Let's argue about specifics and the merits and end the name calling and end the hyperbole.
Absolutely. Great advice.
Well, thank you, Professor. And thank you for all the wisdom that you expound to all of us.
I get it mostly from you. So thank you.
Thank you,
so
Professor.
Much.
When you earn your degree online at Arizona State University, you get everything the nation's most innovative university has to offer. The same internationally recognized faculty, the same nationally ranked programs, the same degree. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.